Senator Lummis has given us a clear guideline with the Bitcoin Act in Nashville in July.
Michael Saylor acaba de revelar o que vem a seguir para a reserva estratégica de Bitcoin dos Estados Unidos.
How should the U.S. pursue a Bitcoin strategy?
Alguns especialistas até afirmam que acreditam que o preço do Bitcoin ainda pode atingir $250 mil até o fim de 2025.
I still believe that we could be 250,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year.
Com o GameStop anunciando que planeja comprar $1 bilhão e 300 milhões em Bitcoin para o Tesouro Corporativo, no estilo de Michael Saylor, isso se soma ao fato de que mais de 400 funcionários do governo sul-coreano, 20% dos quais revelam possuir 9,6 milhões em criptomoedas, incluindo Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP e Dogecoin. Além disso, a BlackRock lançou seu ETF de Bitcoin, que oferece ETF e produtos de Bitcoin na Europa. Muito está acontecendo com o Bitcoin. A criptomoeda está prosperando e a adoção está crescendo em todo o mundo. A criptomoeda está ganhando especialmente nos Estados Unidos. No nosso dia, estamos vendo obstáculos sendo derrubados a esmo e apenas hoje houve uma grande vitória para a criptomoeda, quando o Senado dos Estados Unidos votou 70-28 para revogar a regra do IRS sobre corretor de criptomoedas. Esse é um grande avanço, pois menor regulação negativa leva a mais inovação em DeFi. Agora, Trump só precisa sancionar a lei, o que indicaria tempos bons à frente, é claro. O que vem a seguir imediatamente, espera-se que o Bill, o gênio das moedas estáveis, seja totalmente aprovado nos próximos meses. Também temos uma estrutura de mercado de criptomoedas que se espera que passe mais tarde este ano. E claro, depois disso, todos aguardamos o projeto de lei de Bitcoin de Cynthia Lummis, que, se aprovado, estimulará uma grande corrida de compras de Bitcoin nos Estados Unidos. Michael Saylor colocou isso de forma clara, ao elaborar uma apresentação completa sobre como os Estados Unidos devem abordar essa questão, apresentando diferentes cenários possíveis. Você precisa acreditar que algo assim vai acontecer.
How should the U.S. pursue a Bitcoin strategy? Well, Senator Lummis has given us a clear guideline with the Bitcoin Act in Nashville in July. And what the Bitcoin Act said, it said, let's acquire 1 million Bitcoin over a 5-year period in a programmatic, disciplined fashion, transparent to all. And so let's consider the consequences of this strategy. Well, first of all, last week, the president signed the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Act or order. If we hold that 200,000 Bitcoin for the next 20 years, even though you see a flat line on the screen, the flat line is worth $3 trillion. So that's the value of doing nothing. Sometimes people think that you have to do something to make money. Sometimes the absence of doing awful and stupid things is making money. Doing stuff is highly overrated if the stuff is trading or selling your Bitcoin. The Lummis bill would acquire a million Bitcoin or 1.2 million Bitcoin. If you look at the consequences of that over the time frame, it's worth $16 trillion to the nation. In this case, there's a bit of reflexivity. If the United States starts to more aggressively stockpile Bitcoin, it's going to accelerate the growth of the network. It's going to accelerate capital flowing in the network. It's going to increase and expand the overall digital capital network. If we move to a triple max strategy, you'll end up with 4 million Bitcoin. That's worth $73 trillion to America. And of course, President Trump has laid out a guideline. We should be the superpower. If you want a superpower strategy, here's a superpower strategy. Acquire Bitcoin consistently. By the way, over what time frame? Consistently daily between now and the 0.99. 0.99 is January of the year 2035, the point at which 99% of the Bitcoin supply has been mined. The asset becomes effectively capped for all practical purposes because the last 1% comes out over 100 years. 0.99 between now and then, you've got 10 years for the digital gold rush. You should get your Bitcoin before there's no more Bitcoin for you. And you can see here, in this strategy, we acquire it consistently, and then we use surpluses from the U.S. government to continue to save in Bitcoin. It's worth $106 trillion to the United States. And so what does that look like? Well, the Lummis plan, which is grand, is modest in some ways, and a modest strategic Bitcoin reserve plan neutralizes the national debt. Sometimes doing modest things are actually brilliant as long as you do the thing. It's like the people that bought just a little bit of Bitcoin in 2012 It was a modest investment. It made them billionaires. A modest thing 20 years in advance is a brilliant thing. If you're more aggressive, the triple max plan negates the national debt. The superpower plan creates a global superpower.
Na verdade, Michael Saylor não para de falar sobre isso. Ele diz agora mesmo que estamos em uma corrida ao ouro digital moderna e a melhor coisa que os Estados Unidos poderiam fazer seria começar a comprar Bitcoin imediatamente, pois assim que começarem a comprar, eles imediatamente reduzem ainda mais o risco.
America was built on the gold that the 49ers brought. And so this is the modern digital gold rush. We should just go grab the digital gold. Eventually, the rest of the world will trade all of their stuff for it, but when they buy it, they'll be buying it at 10 million a coin or 20 million a coin or 50 million a coin. And we will basically take our debt and we'll negate it, and then we'll flip to being a creditor nation. And what does it take to be rich? Well, ask Bill Gates or Steve Ballmer or Mark Zuckerberg, or Larry Page or Sergey Brin. What does it take to be rich? It just takes a little bit of vision, a little bit of conviction, and use technology, right? And so in this case, I think our country should be rich. It is rich. We're rich because we bought California for a few $million before people knew before they knew Hollywood or Silicon Valley would be a thing, right? And now I think we should buy cyberspace. And it's the most powerful lever imaginable because you're paying a penny to get a dollar. And not only are you paying a penny to get a dollar, but you're de-risking the thing, right? Because in the process of adopting Bitcoin as the network, you force a stampede of all of our allies, all of our frenemies, all of our enemies, and you accelerate the monetization of the network. So everybody's a winner. I mean, arguably, even the rest of the world's a winner because they're going to be better off using digital capital as a store of value than using Siberian warehouses.
Aqui está um senador dos Estados Unidos de Ohio que diz que agosto é o mês em que vamos tentar aprovar o projeto de lei de Bitcoin de Cynthia Lummis. Se isso ocorrer, seria algo enorme.
I think if people understand, generally speaking, this is really, really good for the future of U.S. dominance financially around the world, then we'll get to a point of consensus. And I think we're getting there. I think certainly this industry, the Digital Chamber, I was a member of 11 years ago, where we took a totally different small group of people and now are a pretty powerful force in Washington, D.C. I think we got to celebrate that too, that's happened in a very short period of time. So it's exciting times. I'm going to lay out the gauntlet. Let's get this done by August, recess. What do you think? We'll get it done? Market structure, Genius Act, SPR done by August, right? What do you guys think?
Então, mergulhos como este são oportunidades de compra. Acho que, quer dizer, você realmente acha que este mercado de touro do Bitcoin acabou? Como assim 150 mil? 200 mil? 250 mil? Esses preços ainda estão em jogo para o Bitcoin este ano.
We had a great run from 20,000 to 110 on Bitcoin, essentially, FTX lows until, Trump coin. And now we're having a 30% correction. It's pretty normal for a bull market. So I think, yes, people might have had a little bit too much leverage. Maybe they bought too many shit coins. But I think we're going to clear out all that dead wood. And I still believe that we could be 250,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. Does that mean that the particular shitcoin you own is going to be 100x higher? Probably not, because people are getting a little bit more discerning in the type of things that they own. But at least from Bitcoin perspective and the overall market capitalization of crypto, I think we're going to be much higher by the end of the year than we are today.